If you are wondering how Sarada, Mitsuki, Araya, and Yodo will defend against Ryu's Iron Sand after Araya's blade, which has Shinka's chakra, allowing him to control the Iron Sand, got stuck in the body of a Claw Grime that Araya tried to slice to save Yodo from being devoured, and Ryu then sent that Claw Grime with Araya's blade to a different location using the claw marks, then this video is for you. Here's why. In this video, I'll explain how one of Sarada's Mangekyō Sharingan abilities helped her neutralize the threat of Ryu's Iron Sand, turning the battle in the favor of Sarada and her team. What danger was Sarada and her team in? After Ryu got rid of Araya's blade, he thought Sarada, Mitsuki, Araya, and Yodo had no way to defend against his Iron Sand, so he started attacking them with a lot of Iron Sand. Araya tried using the wind-style Sandstorm Blast Jutsu to blow away the Iron Sand Ryu sent at them, but it did not work. The Iron Sand passed through Araya's wind-style jutsu and hit him, knocking him to the ground. Mitsuki then used his snake Sage Mode to attack Ryu with multiple Sage Mode snakes. However, Ryu reacted quickly by dodging and using the Iron Sand covering Araya's body to move him in front of himself, using Araya as a shield. This made Mitsuki stop his attack to avoid harming his comrade. This gave Ryu enough time to counter Mitsuki. He used the Iron Sand to attack Mitsuki, covering his body with it, so he could also manipulate and control him. Now Ryu had his own powers and control over both Mitsuki and Araya's bodies. This gave him a big advantage in defeating Sarada and Yodo, the only ones whose body he had not covered with the Iron Sand. At this point, it seemed like the battle was over and Ryu had won. The reason for this perspective is that it seemed like Sarada had no way to defend against Ryu's Iron Sand. Ryu could also use Araya and Mitsuki's bodies to make them attack Sarada and Yodo with their abilities. He could even use their bodies as shields like he did with Araya earlier, or make them fight each other, as he originally planned when he controlled Sarada and Yodo's bodies earlier. This would have made things difficult for Sarada and Yodo. They'll have to focus on defending against Ryu's attacks while also worrying about not hurting their comrades if Ryu used them as shields. They would also have to make sure Mitsuki and Araya did not harm each other if Ryu made them fight each other, all while still trying to defend against Ryu's attacks. What made things worse was that Yodo was not a strong fighter and would not be able to help Sarada. Her strengths were advanced hearing and detection abilities, not fighting skills. When Araya saw that Sarada and Yodo had no way to win against Ryu, he told them to forget about him and Mitsuki and save themselves. Seeing that Araya had accepted defeat, Ryu used his Iron Sand to cover Araya's neck and applied pressure so he could not breathe properly or speak. Ryu then told Araya to stop saying foolish things because he was not letting any of them escape. Ryu knew he had the upper hand, so he tried to make a deal with Sarada and her team. He wanted them to tell him where Boruto and Kashinkoji were, as well as any weaknesses and information they had on them. Ryu believed this would give him and the other divine trees an advantage. In return, he promised to let them all go. After hearing Ryu's offer, Mitsuki warned Sarada and Yodo not to fall for it, as he believed Ryu would kill them all anyway, even if they gave him what he wanted. Mitsuki then told Sarada and Yodo to run and save themselves. At this point, Yodo told Sarada to reveal Boruto's location and asked if she knew where he was. However, Sarada was never going to say anything, even if she knew, because she wanted to protect Boruto. When Yodo insisted that they had no choice and would be defeated if they did not give Ryu the information, Sarada told her not to be ridiculous and questioned how she could trust Ryu's promise to let them go. Like Mitsuki, Sarada believed it was a trap. Yodo then asked Sarada what other option they had and if she was willing to stay silent and let them all be killed by Ryu. Sarada responded by saying she was sorry but would never betray a friend to save herself, not that she even had any information on Boruto to share. At this point, Sarada remembered what Sumire had told her. Sumire had said that even though she and Sarada had openly taken Boruto's side, they actually knew very little important information about him. Sumire also asked if that was the reason they had been able to live freely as they were. After hearing Sarada say she would not betray Boruto to save herself, Yodo spoke up. She said she had been wondering why Sarada kept defending Boruto, a rogue ninja who was wanted by his village for serious crimes. Since Yodo was affected by the omnipotence, she likely believed the false accusations that Kawaki forced Ada to make against Boruto. But unlike Yodo, Sarada was not affected by omnipotence and knew the truth that Boruto was Naruto's real son and would never kill his own father. Now Yodo finally understood why Sarada kept defending Boruto. She then asked Sarada if Boruto was the kind of person who made her want to always stand by his side, even if the whole world hated him. Yodo then said she felt the same way about Shinki, who had been devoured by a Claw Grime and turned into a tree, which Ryu used as a source to come into existence. While Sarada and Yodo were talking, Ryu grew impatient and asked if he could go ahead and kill them all. Yodo quickly responded, telling him to wait. She explained that the problem was that they did not have any information on Boruto. Ryu realized they had no way to negotiate as he was about to eliminate them. But before he could act, Yodo made a new promise. She told Ryu that he could take her instead. She offered to cooperate with him and use her enemy detecting abilities to help him for his own benefit. Yodo promised to start gathering information for Ryu and to bring him whatever intel he wanted. In return, she asked Ryu to let Sarada, Mitsuki, and Araya go. However, Ryu refused the deal and used his iron sand to strike Yodo in the stomach, knocking her out and making her cough up blood. He then covered her body with iron sand so he could control and manipulate her as he wished. As Yodo lay on the ground, she felt hopeless and wondered why things never seemed to go well. Seeing her injured, Sarada grew concerned, but Yodo told her it was okay because she knew she was done for. While Sarada was distracted, Ryu quickly used his iron sand to cover her body as well, taking control of her just like he did with Yodo. At this point, Ryu had full control over all of them: Sarada, Yodo, Araya, and Mitsuki. They had become nothing more than Ryu's obedient puppets. Laying on the ground, Yodo suddenly told Sarada that she was not sure why, but she could hear something clearly. She then asked Sarada if she truly knew herself. Yodo was talking about Sarada's desire to be strong. She told Sarada that at that moment she could tell Sarada misunderstood herself and was fooling herself without realizing it. Sarada was confused and asked Yodo what she meant. That's when Yodo revealed that she was talking about Sarada's power, the power she had been holding back and letting rot. Ryu grew impatient. He thought Sarada and her team were just clinging to life stubbornly. He said they looked like they were in pain and wondered why he did not just finish them off. So using his iron sand, he controlled Sarada like a puppet and forced her to hold a kunai, making her try to stab either herself or Yodo. As Sarada fought to regain control of her body, Yodo told her that she did not know why Sarada was holding back her power, but she didn't have to. Yodo said it was okay to use that power for reasons beyond just the greater good. She told Sarada that she was allowed to use it to protect the one special person in her life. The moment Yodo said those words, Sarada dropped the kunai from her hand. Suddenly, the iron sand covering her and the others, Mitsuki, Araya, and Yodo, started being pulled into the air. Ryu was shocked, unable to understand what was happening. He watched in confusion as the iron sand peeled away from their bodies and was sucked into a small portal into the air. It turned out that Sarada had activated her Mangekyō Sharingan. The small portal, which was observing and pulling in Ryu's iron sand, was one of the abilities of her Mangekyō Sharingan. So how did Sarada's Mangekyō Sharingan turn the battle in the favor of Sarada and her team, ultimately saving everyone from being killed by Ryu? Ryu had complete control of the battlefield with his iron sand. He could attack, defend, and even manipulate Sarada's team like puppets. This made it seem like the fight was already lost. However, Sarada's Mangekyō Sharingan created a portal that sucked in all the iron sand, taking away Ryu's main weapon. By doing this, she flipped the situation completely, turning her team from helpless victims into fighters with a real chance to win. In war, controlling the battlefield's most important element can decide the outcome. For Ryu, his Iron Sand was the key to his power. He used it for both offense, attacking with sand, and defense, turning himself into Iron Sand to avoid attacks, blocking attacks, and controlling people's movements. By removing the Iron Sand from play, Sarada now controls the center of gravity in the battle. Now Ryu has lost his biggest advantage, and Sarada's team can fight freely. Ryu believed his Iron Sand made him unstoppable, but by using her Mangekyō Sharingan to observe it, Sarada made his strongest weapon useless. Without his Iron Sand, Ryu is no longer a major threat. By cutting off his main strategy, Sarada traps him in a losing position. This is the perfect time for Sarada's team to attack. Before they had to worry about being controlled by the Iron Sand, now they can fight without that risk.